I had a few things planned here for today. I was going to do a little message on Mother's Day and then finish up on the return of Christ, but I was kind of thinking those things are about as unrelated as possible. And then I found out that Mother's Day is like an immovable object. You have to deal with it. You can't go over it. You can't go around it. You have to deal with it. And so we will do that with a message, some thoughts about mothers. And it is a wonderful day to celebrate them. I love it. And every year it's just wonderful. And as we've gotten a little older and our children have grown up, now it's just wonderful to see the new mothers maturing and growing as mothers. It's just a precious thing. Or like I like to say, grandchildren are really fun, but even more fun is watching my children try to be parents, you know. But I mean that in a loving way, because we all went through it, right? And that kind of speaks to the message this morning, which I'm entitling The Timeline of a Mother. It's a safe bet to say that all mothers began as little girls. And as a little girl in the home, and I know there's differences, some mothers have to work out of necessity, some by choice, some have single parents, some don't have a mother with them, all these things. But just the traditional view, the nuclear family as we see it, and probably most of us grew up into one, we find out that mothers are there, and these little girls are sort of in a school. They're in like university. You know what the school is? It's the school of motherhood. They're learning how to be a mother every day, every minute of every day. They're learning, these little girls are learning, they're in the school of motherhood, and they're getting daily lessons on what it is to be a mother. And I hope they're good lessons. I know we all could do better, right, mothers? Some of us reflect back, but those that are just in the throes of it, in the midst of it, you're benefiting from the teaching of your mother. You grew up in the school of motherhood. Now, what are they learning, these little girls? What are they learning about their mother? Well, I think they're learning about the presence of a mother. The fact that it seems to a young girl, mothers are always there, or to a child in the home. They're always there. They're there in the tears and the disappointments. How many fathers have tried to comfort a child and they say, I want my mommy? I mean, I don't know what you're bringing to the table, but there's something missing here. One of my kids have a few, and usually the mom puts them to bed, and the dad is actually working out of town once a week, and he's back all the time. And so when she puts them to bed, she sings a couple of pretty songs, and they go right to sleep. And then he goes up to put them to bed, and they don't want that at all. Even though he's singing the same song, that doesn't work. There's just something about the mother. Okay, so the presence, they're always there, the tears and the disappointments. They're also there for the laughter and the praise. Mothers are always praising their children. They're always encouraging them and looking for those little victory laps to take and all of these things. And moms are just special for that. And these little girls are watching that happen. And whether they know it or not, they're internalizing all these things, and they're building a foundation, and they're structuring their lives a little bit. When the time comes that maybe they'll be a mother, they could be like that. The presence of a mother. I still remember a high school, in my high school yearbook, if you look at the sports page, I used to play soccer, and there's a picture, and my mom's way back in the crowd there, you know. She comes to the soccer games. Well, that meant a lot to me, that she would be there. They're always there, all the time. And then there's the consistency of a mother. Oh, the consistency. The meals. You ever wondered where the next meal came from? Now, later on, you end up cooking your own dinner. I know that. But when you were little, it's always there, right? There's something going on. Something in the kitchen. My wife's mom, it's almost like an altar is the soup pot is always on the stove. 365 days a year, there's a pot of soup. And as soon as you walk in, that's what happens. In fact, the day I met my mother-in-law, first day I met her, I drove from here all the way to Chicago, and she had a table spread with cheese and donuts and rye bread and butter and everything. And I walked in there, first thing she said was, "Sit down, Jeff, we eat." I said, I love this woman. I don't know where all the mother-in-law jokes came from, but not for this one. So their consistency is there in meal preparation, clothes. I still remember my mom. I don't know why you have these memories. She took me out to a department store to buy me a dress shirt for school. You know, I mean, moms just do those things. They know that you need that. And that gets back to shopping. Have you ever gone to the store with your wife? It's incredible. I just stand back in awe and I watch it happen. They just know everything. They're like me in a used bookstore. They know where everything is. They know where all the sales are. They know everything, and they shop and shop and shop, and it's all good. It's all wonderful. And then the consistency in the activities. They always come up with these things to do, these little projects we're going to do. We're going to try this now. Let's do this here. Let's go to the zoo. Let's go outside. Let's go for a walk. Consistency. Always looking for things to do. Oh, and then there's the discipline. Proverbs 1:8, forsake not the law of thy mother. Now, I've heard some stories that when I left the house to go to work, that things changed. You know what I mean? The whole dynamic changed, and they all knew it, all the kids. When Dad's here, there's a certain buffer there. There's I'll just say it, a little bit of grace. But when I'm gone, then the law of thy mother comes into play. And I looked it up last night. In Titus, it talks about mothers that they manage the house, I think is one translation. And it's the word where we get, in our language, despot from. Despotes in the Greek. They're the despot of the house. They rule the house. They don't just manage it, they run it when I'm away, when the dad is away. And so, forsake not the law of thy mother. But you know what's coming out of that? All of those things? The third point about mothers, what are they learning? What are these little girls learning? They're learning about love. And everything I just mentioned comes from love. Where else would it come from? It has to. I think the closest thing to the love of God is probably the love of a mother. Now, that's a bold statement, but why would I say that? Why would they do these things? Why would you put up with everything? Why would you have to be on top of all of these activities, especially if you have a lot of children? It's unbelievable. Has to be love. Has to be love, because love is uncaused. Love just loves. That's who God is. You know, he doesn't love himself up. He is love, and mothers are love, and they learned that from their mother. Most likely, they learned that from their mother. Well, this is a timeline. So this little girl who's been at the school of motherhood all these years, she grows up and she gets married, and probably at some point she finds out she's pregnant. Well, that's a big day. That's a big day. And at that moment, when she finds out she's pregnant, something very special happens. There begins a metamorphosis for that little girl. At first, she doesn't know much. She's still a little girl. But she's carrying a baby. And she carries that baby around all the time, obviously. That baby is with her every moment. Kind of sounds like a mother, right? There's a consistency. Yes, she carries that baby all the time. She feels that baby. I mean, I couldn't feel a baby until later, and one of my kids actually tried to kick me right out of the bed. But, you know, you can feel them later. But in the beginning, only the mom, only they know, right? They know things I don't know. So she feels a baby. She talks to that baby. She might even sing songs to that baby. And the baby hears everything. You know, they do that. Babies hear everything. They hear what's going on all around them all the time. So she loves that baby. She's bound up in love to that baby. And this is a metamorphosis. This is something that's beginning to change her into something other than a little girl. And when that baby is born, at that second, at that very second, the very first second the baby is born, something is different. Something's changed. We see it. It's obvious to everyone. Not only has a baby been born, but a mother has been born right then. And I've always thought, how does a little girl suddenly become a mother? There's a lot of new things in play. We don't understand the process. We don't know. It's past finding out, but there it is. You see the personality changes, the activities change, the priorities change, the heart changes, everything changes. And I think about what book did they learn from to know how to hold a baby? I mean, you give me a baby, it's like a violin. You know, I don't know what to do. I just sort of hold it, right? But they have a hip. You know, God gave them some anatomy that we don't have. We don't have any hips, but they do. They just kind of go like this, and everything's okay. Sitting on a ledge over there, you know, the baby. And so they learn how to do these things. How do they know the difference between these cries of a baby? How do they know the difference between hungry and tired? Or maybe I should say dirty, hungry, and tired. There's 3 choices there. I could get it wrong. Probably need a diaper change. Okay, well, no diaper change. Well, now what's your problem, right? So I guess guys come out of duty, moms come out of love. They just know. And I'll tell a little story. It's a classic story, but to me it just shows you a mother. When my wife and I, we had some twins, and they were little and in the cribs. Notice I say cribs, plural. And they were both upstairs. We had our room, and they were across a hall in this other little room. And then I was awake one night, in the middle of the night, and I heard them kind of rummaging around. I heard them crying a little bit, making some noises. No big deal, right? And then they cried a little, and I could tell my wife was sound asleep. Deep breathing, a little snoring, deep breathing, REM sleep. She is gone, right? She is asleep as you can be. And then I heard another cry, and I didn't think about it. And I actually thought, maybe I should get up and check. Nah, bed's warm. I'm comfortable. And then another cry. And all of a sudden she jumps up. She says, they're hungry. She heard it all along. And she was building this up in her mind, this progression, you know, okay. Oh, I got to do something. That's a mother. They just know those things. And that's what happens to this little girl. She starts to be like that. And it's an amazing thing. How does it happen? God only knows. God only knows how mothers know what they know. And I've come to learn to trust women's intuition. Guys, you have to do it. There's just something they know. They just know they know, and we don't know anything about it. We just have to go along with it, and it's going to be right. And if it isn't right, well, it is to her, and that's all you need to know. So they have these skills that we just have no idea about. One thing we do know, though, is that little girl who was her mother's student has now, all of a sudden, become the teacher. See the timeline of a mother? She learned all her life, all these lessons about what a mother should be. And then she has a baby, and all of a sudden now she's the teacher. And this little girl, just got a word that one of my kids is going to have a little girl, right? It's girl year. It was boy year last year, now it's girl year. Everybody's having girls. So that little girl now is staring up at the face of her mother. And she sees this smiling face all day, these warm eyes, gentle hands, starting to get a little education about what a mother should be, how a mother should operate. And as this baby grows up and becomes, say, we'll just go with the little girl, what does she teach them? The same things. The presence of a mother, that a mother is always there, 24/7, 365, nights and weekends, right? They're always there. They have to be there. God knows, and He's equipped them for that. Some moms work, I understand, not a perfect picture, but pretty close. And even the mom that works, when she's home, she is the mother. There's no doubt about it. And just ask the child. They know exactly when mom is home. Then the consistency, again, the meeting of the needs. There are emotional needs in the family that only a mother can meet. That's those tears and disappointments. They can get down at the child's level. They can hold the child close and comfort that child in a way that a guy just can't. We just don't have it. And that's why God designed the family the way He did. There are spiritual needs in the family. And mothers are especially attuned to this. Listening to the child, watching their behavior. The whole goal and objective is to get these these children to trust in the Lord and to love him and to live for him just like we have. We want to transfer that to the next generation and the next generation. And mothers have this special discernment, I guess I'll say, about the nature of that child. Should I do this? Should I discipline? Should I encourage? All of these complex things are in the spiritual realm, and mothers are spiritual in that sense. And then the praying mother, the praying mother. God hears the praying mother, for sure, because of the love and the care which she has in her heart for her children. And then there's the physical needs, the day-to-day things, the meals and the messes. So they could be at the high plane of spiritual discernment, and then they can turn right around and clean up the broken glass on the floor and do it in love in both senses. Miraculous. It really is. And then there's the love again. This is what's transferred from the one mother, the teaching mother, to the student, and now the student is the teacher. And they find the love, the giving of themselves. That's what love is. It's selflessness, the giving of yourself for the benefit of another at your expense. That could be sleepless nights. That could be financial. That could be a lot of things. Contributing to the family in a way a man can't duplicate. We can't. We can try. There are single parent homes where the dad's home and he has to do all he can. But I think statistics show that the greatest benefit, the greatest blessing for the children is to have both father and mother at home, and mother especially at home as much or all the time, if possible. That is the greatest benefit, and God works through that. It's been said, this quote, that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And that is a quote. I found out who said that, and I wanted to just read that in context. This is a preacher from 1836. He says, "It has long been acknowledged that female influence has controlled the world, whether for good or evil. It may be said with great truth and certainty that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and who would wish the scepter taken from that hand?" That's a good thing, that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And that's where that quote comes from, and it's a true statement. And you just look at every ruler that has ruled the world, every man had a mother. And that mother did what mothers do. And that man makes choices based on the information that he's gotten over his life. But it's true in a positive sense, that we just think of that line positively, that mother has, I'll say, control and influence over that child in a way that no other human being on the planet has. I mean, think about it, guys. They made a baby, right? And we can think about all kinds of achievements, but have you done that one lately? A woman can have a baby. Wow, that's amazing. And that baby is part of them. They're hooked up. They share the same bloodstream. I mean, that's about as close as you can get, I would say. And even when that baby is independent, there still is that unique and special and mysterious connection between a mother and her child. Mothers are unique. So unique that the Bible dedicates an entire chapter just to mothers. We don't get one, guys. There's a couple of good thoughts about a guy in the Bible, but the mother, she gets Proverbs 31 all to herself. And I just wanted to read a portion of that as we close. Verses 26. "She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." They're never resting. There's always something there, something to do. "She does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you, Mom, surpass them all." That's what the Bible says. Mothers are in a whole nother realm. They're at another level, high shelf for the mothers. They have skills, they have enablements and intangibles that men don't have. Mothers have them in abundance. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all, is what the Bible says. So mothers, we do celebrate you today. All the mothers here, we celebrate you and we thank you and praise you for all that you are. That amazing gift God has put on the planet to raise children. May you continue to have that legacy. Leave it for others to follow. Remember, all mothers start out as little girls and they become teachers. You are the teacher of those that are in front of you. And that goes on as long as life goes on for that mother. She continues to mother her children. Sometimes I have to encourage my wife, listen, they've got their own families, but you just can't stop it. They just have to mother their children all the way as long as they can, because love never stops. That's what it says. Love never fails. It just goes on forever and ever. And it's that selflessness and care which God has put in their hearts, which they cannot throttle back. They just have to be mothers. And we're thankful for that mothers are mothers forever. So we encourage you today. Have a great day. Have a great Mother's Day. I know we have a lot of activities planned. And we'll just thank God for what he's done in giving mothers all the skills that they have to raise their children and to raise their families.